Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We are entering the month of September in 1984. Can't believe we've almost got 3 full years of World Class up and about, but that is going to be the case in the next little while. Relatively crazy show this week. Crazy just because there's a lot of newer content, a couple of new people, and the continuation of some good stuff for, the people that are already here. George Weingroff and Chris Adams. Weingroff, of course, more of a technical star than they have had recently, and Adams, of course, been around a long while. Almost, I'd say, at least a year and a half for Adams at this point, and he certainly is prone to continuing his continuing uphill battle in world class. Weingroff, not really a guy that they're going to push heavily, more like a utility good hand, which I think wrestling underestimates the need for utility good hands. But anyway, cross body and a lot of just heavy movement early. Oddly enough, you see Gary Hart sitting at ringside taking notes. Still can't get used to Gary Hart with hair. I know he had some in the 60s, but my exposure to him is completely clean-shaven Gary Hart, and actually on my to-do list is reading his book. I want to get to that. Anyway, roll up by Adams, and Adams routinely goes back to the more traditional style of fight, and lots of roll throughs, lots of just good mat wrestling. Amazing to me that he's been a babyface the entire time in his world-class run. Just amazing, because being the English guy in Texas, you'd think he would have turned by now. Anyway, several good body slams, and off the ropes he goes into the Wild Blue Yonder of continuing to be well known. And again, rough double. So they do a cross body, and both guys go crashing to the floor, but they literally walk backwards across the ring before doing it. Do not do this. It does not look natural. In any event, it is what it is as far as that's concerned. And Weingroff goes for a backslide, and I always like, just a personal preference, but I like backslides and holds where guys have to fight for the pin. An attempted roll up there, and they go to a victory for Adams. We move on to another. Well, not that was a squash match. I think that was a match meant to get Adams over, but also meant to kind of push Weingroff a little bit. Killer Khan versus Mike Gallagher. Khan officially now more with Akbar than before, so the alliance with the Freebirds probably over, since they're still doing battle with Khan, and or since the Freebirds are still doing battle with Akbar. Really basic match. Gallagher, meant to be an enhancement talent, fires back on Khan here and there, but not really in a terribly aggressive way. More of a "hey, I'm here" kind of way. Needless to say, there is a good series of shots. And Khan is a guy that really by 87 is on the downward spiral. So this is the last few good years of his career, and we see him take some good shots along the way, but maybe the match goes a little long. At least for my opinion, I've always been a guy who, unless a bigger guy is in a really higher level upper mid card to main event match, then he should be doing the squashing. That's always been my opinion anyway. The Pretty Young Things, Norville Austin, Coco Ware versus Iceman King Parsons and Skip Young. I don't know. I mean, I personally liked Coco better in Memphis, which we will eventually get to Memphis, which is going to be a fun ride because I haven't seen everything in Memphis. But there is when I used to trade tapes, there's a match that I loved, a Coco Ware and Ric Flair match that went like 20 plus minutes. Anyway, Skip Young cleans house early in the match, and looks like Parsons and Young really are planning a future as they seem to just go round and round. Young is a guy I'm not terribly familiar with, very athletic to say the very least. Also want to point out I did miss a promo with Gino Hernandez talking about Stella Mae French right before this. Basically, he's taken the Jimmy Garvin role with the Stella Mae French situation. Paranoid about French. I don't really found this kind of weak. It just seems like they plugged one guy into an angle because Garvin ostensibly left the territory, and it was awkward. Anyway, Pretty Young Things work together and try to pull things back a little bit. We do see a lot of selling from Young. Young not looking particularly good for a guy new to the area. Iceman King Parsons, probably one of the better homegrown stars that is not a Von Erich in world class. Certainly a guy who has, going almost into, he'll be in his third year sometime in 85, and to do that in the territory is a big thing. Slow down by Austin and Coco Ware. Parsons makes his way back to his feet, kind of getting every advantage he can get. The matches go pretty well, and Young back in the ring. Meanwhile, Parsons on the outside. Parsons comes back in, tries to cut off the double team maneuver, and Austin falls off the top rope and gets an advantage there for Parsons and Young. Again, interesting to have tag teams here. I'm at the beginning of November in my watching foray, and we see the Fantastics coming in at that point, among other things. Young and Parsons do get the victory here. We go to the main event. Our main event is Gino Hernandez, Kevin Von Erich, and Kevin Von Erich and Gino Hernandez do have a really decent match here. Hernandez probably still one of the best heels in Texas at this point. Reminds me almost of kind of the replacement for Jimmy Garvin's style, only more athletically based. If you're not familiar with Gino Hernandez, worth going out of your way to watch the year that he's in Texas. His pre-world class stuff is limited due to videotape availability. Kevin Von Erich, obviously the most consistent Von Erich in the area, rolls through, hits some drop kicks, hits what seems to be always innovative holds out of nowhere. Also goes back to that body scissors, and I can't think of the last time I saw a body scissors. Actually, there is a point in this where it looks like Hernandez at least tries to bite the feet of Kevin Von Erich. Notable because Von Erich is a guy who always wears no shoes into the ring, or almost always wears no shoes into the ring. I don't know what that does for your balance. I wouldn't assume it's good. Anyway, Hernandez makes his way to the top rope, gets tossed off, a la the old Flair toss. Then we see Hernandez go to the ringside area, and a single punch sends him down, and then we see Kevin work the claw for a few minutes. Lots of back and forth in the match. Hernandez sends him to the outside and, tries to do everything he possibly can. I mean, they work a good 10, 12 minutes here, and they are nonstop. Oddly enough, Hernandez always looks for, or almost always, looks for a foreign object when he feels he needs it. However, he doesn't need it as much as he thinks he does. Salome French makes her way out to the ringside area and jumps Hernandez, causing him to get the disqualification victory. Kevin Von Erich talks about her being a little crazy, but that eventually, in fact, he believes that there will be a time when she gets even. And we actually do see before that interview French and Von Erich getting a few shots in on Gino Hernandez. We will be back with more World Class right after this.